Hello everybody, it's Tia Woodward here from Stamp with Tia, and I am an independent demonstrator showcasing Stampin' Up products, and I absolutely love what I do. I love the quality of the products, and I can't picture using anything else. So before I get started, so today I am showing you how to make this card. We're using the Words of Cheer bundle. But before we get started, it's really, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you, we have, hey Teresa, I see you, and will you tell me if my camera is oriented correctly? Because after last week's snafu, I sure don't want to go through that again. I want to let everybody know that through tomorrow we have a joining special. It's $75 instead of $99 to get $125 worth of product. So it's a very, very good deal. And what that gets you is it enables you to buy Stampin' Up product with a 20% discount. So it's a pretty good deal. And if you think about like joining Costco or something like that, you pay for a membership with them too, except that with Stampin' Up, you just pay it up front. In this case, through tomorrow, it's $75, and then you don't have to continue paying for anything. Carol, if I see you, thank you so much for watching. Will you please let me know if my camera is oriented correctly? I would really like to make sure I don't have a replay of last week for anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about. Last week I recorded an entire 1 hour and 3 minute video only to find out that it was recording sideways. So I want to make sure that I don't do that again. So I'm not going to start until somebody confirms for me that I'm correctly oriented. So let's see. So I just told you about the joining special. It's a really sweet deal. It's a really, really good deal. I mean, friends don't let friends overspend, right? If you have a wish list at all, thank you, Carol. That makes my heart so happy. If you have been thinking about joining at all, this is just a really phenomenal deal. It's a $49 savings. It is free shipping on that first order when you join. You get to be on my team. Doesn't mean that you have to sell the product. You can just be a buyer if you want to. But as a team leader, I would keep you apprised of any updates that are coming out, any special promotions, that sort of thing. So it just means that I would want to be sure that you were fully informed of what was taking place as a team member. There are several people that are just hobby demonstrators, and that's perfectly fine. So anyway, and of course right behind me are the books that I wanted to show you that we have coming up. And let's see if I can sort this out super quick and quick. So today, sorry about that. So today I'm showing you, I'm going to create a card using the Words of Cheer that's coming from the July through December mini catalog. This catalog ends December 30th. Then we have a January through June catalog coming up. And if I move it far enough away, the light's not too bright. See all those little flags that are on here? These are projects that I have planned to teach people how to make out of this catalog. So I have started receiving some of the product from this catalog, and it's really quite beautiful. It's really exciting. But also, January and February is Celebration. And if you don't know what Celebration is with qualifying purchases, you get free product. So there's $50 purchases and $100 purchases. And there we go. So I am going to set these aside. I'm going to turn my camera down. There are some bits and pieces to this card that I'm going to make. I've pre-cut some of it because there is a little bit of intricacy going on that's just going to be, take time. So let's see if I can make sure to not ruin the orientation of my camera. Can you tell I got PTSD from that happening last week? I actually know, okay, this is telling me, there we go. Got a funny message on there telling me to rotate my camera. Carol, sorry to use you again, but if it's not right, will you please let me know? So these are messages that didn't used to pop up during these lives, so it's a little disconcerting. Here's the card we're going to make. Here's the bundle that we use, and then I also use the Tasteful Label dies. This paper here is actually a DSP from the Playful Patterns pack, and it comes in white and black, and I'm going to show you how to color it. Now, this is looking orange in this light. When I'm not under this light, this red does match the cardstock, so I just want to let you know that. I tried several different settings on this light. It's actually why I was a couple minutes late getting on, trying to get the lighting so that this showed up correctly, and it's just not showing up correctly, so sorry about that. All right, here we go. So I am going to start with we're using a real red cardstock. I will be listing all of these measurements out later on, but if you need to write anything down, go ahead. This is the real red cardstock. It's 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. This is a tent fold card, so it's got a top fold on it. There are 2 pieces of basic black cardstock. They are both 5 1/4 by 4. There is 1 piece of white that is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And then, just to make sure I give you the right measurements on this piece, we are at 2 3/4 by 5 1/8. So 2 3/4 by 5 1/8 on this designer series paper. And it would be really easy if you didn't have this paper to color. You could use a wood grain. There's lots of different things that you could put right here and it would look really nice too. But I happen to love buffalo check, so I am going to show you how to create a red and black buffalo check using this designer series paper. I'm going to use my blending brush, and I'm going to use my real red ink pad, and you're going to have to go over this a couple of times. So I'm going to start off the edge, and I didn't have any problem with this designer series paper blotching up on the first one. Let's hope I didn't just hex myself, but I didn't have a problem with it the first time around. And we are going to layer this color on to get this deeper red. And as you can see, this goes on really nice and smooth, but it does go on a little light. And then I'm just going to start again and just keep filling it in. I thought about pre-coloring this, but I really wanted you to see how easy it was. And I have another little trick I wanted to show you as well regarding the edges of this paper. So I cut back on some of the other tasks that I would do in front of you, and I pre-cut some of the dies. You see how nice and rich this is becoming? I'm actually going to go over it one more time. I want this to dry a little bit in between this layer and the next layer of ink that I'm going to put on. So while it's doing that, I am, let's see, okay, so there's the end of my second layer. While I'm letting that kind of dry just a little bit, I'm going to take a finger dauber, and I'm also going to use the Real Red ink pad, and I'm going to go around these cut edges, and I'm going to make sure that that white edge doesn't show, because there's there's a print on one side and a print on the other, and it's white in between. And I'm laying this on black cardstock, and I really don't want that white to be glaringly obvious, and this takes just a second to do. It's not hard, it's really, really easy. And I do this with a lot of my designer series papers when I layer them on, so that they don't show that white edge. Because I have a tendency to like darker bases. That's why I worry about that. Okay, I'm going to come back in with my blending brush and my ink again and do my third layer. And notice that I'm on the silicone mat so that I don't get ink on my desk. And this silicone mat, it's a Stampin' Up product, and it will wash right off. They say you can use Dawn soap, but I just use water and it comes right off. You don't need anything special. Quite the transformation, huh? I absolutely love buffalo check. I almost wore my buffalo check sweater today, but we're having unusually warm weather. And I thought in front of the lights, I would just get too hot. So rather than me pass out while I'm trying to do a demonstration, I thought I would wear a cooler sweater. So I'm going to just grab a baby wipe and try to get some of this, a little bit of this ink off, because I don't want to touch something else and get it on there. And set my blending brush aside. I'm actually done with it, so I can wipe it off a bit. And I will take this to the sink and rinse it out. I use it for all colors. I don't use it just for red. They wash up really nicely. Closing this up. All right. And setting this, notice all that ink that's off to one side, but set that away so that I don't accidentally get it on anything. All right. Next I'm going to use my bone folder, and I'm going to burnish my score line. And I am going to adhere my newly colored designer series paper off to one side, and I'm going to leave this space blank. Get a little bit of this going on. Now I may, as a matter of fact I know I'm going to have to sit while I do a little bit of this detail work, so my voice will get a little bit farther away from the microphone. You should still be able to hear me just fine, and I will stand up regularly to check for comments. I'm not seeing any comments yet. All right, I like to use the multi-purpose glue because I like to have the squish room, and I see that I just made a mess with my glue, but I can fix that and it won't show. First I'm going to wipe it with my finger, it's still going to leave a little bit of a shiny. And I have an eraser that when that's dry, will pick it right up. So I have a rubber eraser. It's a glue eraser. I'm going to wait until it's a little bit drier and it'll pick it up in a more clean fashion. I'm going to go ahead and mount this on here right now. I'm not worried, actually. Nah, I'll wait. You like that? I'm being indecisive already. Okay, so I've pre-cut all these little bits and pieces. So I'm going to show you woke up with I don't think it's an actual cold, but a little bit of a runny nose today. And I debated whether or not to go ahead and get on, but I haven't been coughing, so I'm giving it a chance. So I used this die to cut out this layer. Then I used this die to cut out, excuse me, and of course, as soon as I said that I haven't been coughing, that's what I'm going to do. To cut out the CHEER, and I used adhesive sheeting on the back. Effectively turning these into stickers. I also cut out, there is this die that cuts out the little dots or berries that go on some of this greenery. So I cut some of those out as well. I'm going to wait to pull those over, until I have placed my letters on here. So last week, I think it was last week, I showed, yeah, it was last week, these adhesive sheets and how there's two sides and they're sticky in between, and you apply that to the back of your cardstock, place your die on the face of your cardstock and run it through your cut and emboss machine. That's how I made these. So I'm going to set that to one side, and I'm going to sit so that I am a little bit closer to my work. Set that right there. And make sure, double checking that I'm still in frame, and I am. My pierce mat is starting to get rather dirty. I need to see if I can just wipe that off, or do I need to buy a new one? So I'm using my Pick Me tool, and I'm using the pointed end. I'm starting to peel off that backer that I told you I put on here, turning this into a sticker, and I just want to stick the letter to my tool, and that's going to help me. And I found this earlier, that doing this upside down I was pretty accurate. And I'm going to position my letter. There we go. And I just, because it's a sticker, it is now adhered. Oh, I forgot to mention, I used Mossy Meadow for the back layer, and I'm using Real Red for the front layer. And again, just peeling off that back. And I did have somebody sign up yesterday, take advantage of the joining special, so that was super exciting. It's always so nice to know when your friends and associates are going to be getting such a good deal for a craft or a hobby that they love. See if I can get that fairly straight. Okay, I'm futzing too much here. Let's try this again. she's on. Now, my sister was making fun of me. When I posted this that I was going to show you this card today, you may have noticed she made a joke about, go figure, it's black and red. We recently took a beach trip, took my mother to the beach to celebrate her birthday, and I made a point of letting everybody know that I was wearing my black and red buffalo check sweater, and I had a matching mask. In the first place we stopped, somebody made mention of it. So it was funny that she made mention of it when she saw my card. It's like, hee hee hee, yep, that's me. See how pretty that's turning out? Now, I wish I could tell you that the dots going together were fast. They're not very fast, but the rest of the card is quite quick. And of course you want to spend time to put it together so that it suits your aesthetic. It's no fun to give away a card that you're not happy with. So there. Now you can see that we have our two layers. Now I'm going to pull over our dots. I have flowers in here too, and I didn't plan on how I was going to get them out of the bowl. I just knew I needed to contain them. Knew that it was better that I cut them out ahead of time. Because I was using an adhesive sheet, you actually have to poke them out of the, I use this end, the sharp end of my pick-me tool, and you actually have to poke them out of here. You don't have to do that so much if it's just cardstock. They kind of flick out a little bit easier, but because I used the adhesive sheet behind it, it was a little thicker, so I had to do that, and I didn't want you to have to watch me do that while we were on here. All right, so again, I'm going to peel off, and the first couple are the hardest ones, you know, getting the rhythm of how you're going to pull it apart, and then once you have the rhythm, they seem to come apart pretty easily. So because it's sticky on the back, I've just peeled off the white, and it holds fairly well to my pick-me tool, which I can then use to move it around. There we go. So did you like that? Did you like changing the color of the DSP? I like that. And I realize my fingers are really red from the ink right now, so it's probably hard for you to see these little red dots on my fingers. Now, if you had them and you were so inclined, you could use gems where these berries are. It'd be a lot of a lot of gems, but you know, everybody has different set of resources. So that might be an option for people. What else could you do? I thought about using white berries instead of red berries because I have a lot of red on this card. But, okay, where did it go? I just peeled the back off. It stuck to me? Yeah, it stuck to the end of my thumb. There we go. What else can I tell you? We got our, well, most of our Christmas is up, our decorations, I am dealing with a bit of a back injury, so we had to, normally I bang it all out in like 36 hours, and I've spent a few days on it so far. But my husband told me this morning he loved getting up to our home all decked out for Christmas. He said it was beautiful and it made him feel good, and he looked forward to coming home to it tonight. So I'd say that's mission accomplished for this wife. And it's not every single one of these branches, it's just the ones that have these knobs on them. So stick with me. And I did not pre-count these berries, so there's probably more there than I need. So I have been working on all different kinds of Christmas. Next week I'm going to show how to make some packaging to hold some hot cocoa packets to give as a thank you gift, maybe to a teacher for your children, or maybe, I don't know, for your clergy, or my church. In my church we have visiting, what are called visiting teachers, and I'm going to be giving some hot cocoa packets to some of the people that I visit with, that I make sure are doing well. So that's what you will see next week. It's just a couple of, yeah, and I'll do two different versions, make two different versions. That one doesn't have any sticky on it. How'd that happen? Getting there, we're almost there. Just, oops, just a few more. Oh, come on, please. So, how about you? Do you have Christmas up? Or whatever you choose for holiday decorations? Or do you decorate for the holidays? Not everybody does. I respect that. Lots of different reasons to not, or to do something different. It makes me, our decorations make me very happy. John and I, we pick up decorations from each little trip that we take. So, for instance, this last Labor Day we were at Leavenworth, Washington, and they are known for their nutcrackers over there, and so we picked up a nutcracker. And another time, another part of one of our trips this last year, we were over in the Wallowas, and we took a cable car ride to the top, and we got an ornament from that trip as well. Has a little cable car in it. And we've got ornaments from, well, when John and I met, we met over a blackberry, and one of our wedding gifts that we received was a blackberry ornament, so that always goes on our tree. And then our first anniversary, we bought an ornament when we went away for our little anniversary trip. And let's see, I think I can add one more right here, maybe two, make it 5 instead of a, and so anyway, so it's really fun for us to decorate the tree and just remember each of those places, because sometimes you forget what all you've actually been out doing, and you unwrap those and you remember just how much you really have done. And they're not necessarily expensive ornaments. I mean, one of the ornaments that I hung last night was, I think it was like $4.95. It was pretty inexpensive. There we go. Okay, we're going to call that one good now. Whew. Thank you for sticking with me through that. Now let me pick up my little dots here so that I don't stick them to something else that I had not intended. There we go. Those are gone. And now I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to pour out the rest of my pre-cuts. I ended up not needing this cheer because it turned out, the first one turned out fine. Put our extra dots, our extra berries back in the bowl. There we go, and set those aside. All right. Gonna double check up here that, hi Jean. I'm gonna double check up here and that I'm still in frame, because it's really easy when I sit down to start pulling things close to me, especially when I'm doing little detail. All right. I got that extra glue off of there with my rubber eraser. These are so handy. Makes it all nice and clean now. All right, so now I can add some, I'm going to use some multi-purpose glue, and I don't need to use a ton. So I'm just going to do a little dinky, little dab. Oops, that's too much. And here, and here. Man, this glue is getting a little heavy, coming out a little heavy. And if you remember last week, it was coming out kind of light for me. It's the same tube. Right. Here we go. Now we are ready to adhere that to this black strip. And I'm just going to center it top to bottom. Just like that. Doesn't that look cute? I love it. I just love how this turned out. And this is simple. So far, we have a card base. We have one layer of card matting, the DSP that I showed you how to color, and the word cheer. We just left enough of a gap here. And doesn't that just pop? Now you could use a wood grain or something else over here. You don't need to use this DSP. So now I am going to go ahead and adhere that flat down. Now, you won't see me stamp anything for the outside of the card because I preheat embossed this tag, but you will see me stamp on for the inside of the card. I'm going to go ahead and center. How are you feeling, Jean? Are you up and moving now, or are you still laid up? I know I think you couldn't be weight bearing for quite a while. Okay. So there's that part. Now I'm going to apply some dimensionals to the back of this strip. So I used this die right here from the Tasteful Label dies. So these are all the Tasteful Label dies, and I used this Christmas from the Words of Cheer. with that die. And I just used white heat embossed powder on it. So I'm going to throw some dimensionals on the back of that. And I am going to cut from, oh, they're sticking to each other. I just happen to have this page that I've used up everything out of the center. And I'm going to use some of this strip here, so it looks like I can go about like that many. No reason for anything to be wasted. And I'm going to place it right about here. Doesn't have to be exact to what I did before, but right about there. And I'm scooching it a little bit over this way because I have this little flower and bow arrangement that's going to go off to one side. So, okay, so we've got that on here now. Now we're going to make a bow. Put this label die back over here. Matter of fact, I put all these out of the way. There we go. Excuse me. Okay, so now we have greenery. I need to make a bow, and I'm looking for my ribbon, which there it is, under my dimensionals. I'm going to show you how to make this bow. See, it's real small, and I've cut the ribbon in half. So we're going to do that. I'm going to take a sip really quick to try to avoid any cough. And I'm using this to pre-measure what length I need. Then I'm going to, if you've watched me ever before, you see that I do this a lot with the ribbons that I'm able to. I'm going to cut it right down the middle. And you could use just one half, or you could use both. I'm going to use both because I wanted just a little bit of floof. There we go. Bring back in my bow maker. And for this bow here, I used a 2 width, a 2 tine width. Slide this in, pull this around. Does anyone else have a bow maker? I used to have a event business. I used to be a wedding coordinator for years and years. And I've tied thousands and thousands of bows by hand. It's fine. I can do it very good, but on camera, I can do it lots faster, just like this. Now, I'm not worrying about bringing all my tails down to one end because I like them coming out in different directions over here. Come on. There we go. So I'm going to do a nice little trim. I'm going to try to keep all my angles going the same direction. Doesn't always happen, but I try. Oops, I see a little bit of a I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not. I have a piece of it's a thread from the ribbon. Okay. About like that. This one was quite a bit shorter. About like that. All right, I'm going to use a mini glue dot. I am. they are. I can see that I wasn't tearing off as I went. So I'm going to stick that bow right off of the end of the label. And I've just used a glue dot to put it down. I can come back in and trim these further if I want to, but I'm going to go ahead and start making and applying these flowers real quick. These are super easy. And I'm going to sit down again because I have a little bit of detail work to do, and it's easier when you're up close. Move my greenery off to one side. I have 3 small flower, which I use for centers, and then I have 3 bigger sets of petals. And I take the back end of my Pick-Me tool with the cap still on, and I push it right down in the middle of that flower on my piercing mat to give it dimension. And I'm going to do the same to the small flower, just like that. Now I am going to use the sharp end of my, now I could do this a couple different ways. I could pick up the small flower, I could stick it right on the glue dot, pull it back off, and put it on the large flower, or I can use the sharp end of my Pick-Me tool. I'm going to use the sharp end of my Pick-Me tool this time. I'm going to place my glue dot right in the center. And then I'm going to use the clay end of my Pick-Me tool to pick up the small flower and position it. I'm going to offset the petals a little bit, just like that. And there we go. And I was a little bit crooked, but it's going to be okay because when I make an arrangement, like you see here, some of it's going to be covered up anyway. So I'm going to set that off to one side. Grab another glue dot. And how you apply your glue dots is it's totally individual to each person. I normally apply the flower directly to the glue dot, and it wasn't working for me earlier today, so I'm doing it different this afternoon. So there is the second flower. Another glue dot. I stretched this glue dot. There we go. All right. Flip this small flower over. There we go. Pick it up and place it just like so. And now we have 3 flowers. We have 3 flowers, we have 3 stems of greenery, and we're going to place those before I worry about showing you how to apply the gems. So one of these flowers is going to be applied with a mini glue dot. Only one of them. And that's what I was having problems with earlier. Sometimes when it's moist outside, the paper will tear a little bit, and it is moist outside. Alright, I'm going to place this first flower right on the edge of this label, and I'm going to try to scooch it a little bit away from the C of Christmas because I don't want to hide the word. And I pushed it down with the tip of my Pick-Me tool. Now the other 2 I'm going to apply with dimensionals because I want them to stand up a little bit. One of them is just going to have 1 dimensional. The other one is going to have 2. So I've just applied a dimensional to the back of this one. peeling off the back. Going to just stick that onto my Pick Me tool, and I'm going to apply, let's see, gonna move some of my ribbon aside a little bit. There we go. Come on. Got it. And I'm pushing it in a little bit closer, and I'm going to push with my Pick Me tool and just maneuvering that ribbon a little bit. There we go. Now with this last one, I'm going to stack the dimensionals. So, come on. Into that right there. And then peel the back off. Oh, it looks like the back already peeled off. And then take another one, stack it right on top to make it twice as tall. Because of the ribbon, you're not going to see it. And I'm placing it on this side of the knot. Just like that. And it's adhered. So we have one that's glued with a mini glue dot directly to the label, one that has a single dimensional, it's glued to the paper in between the ribbons, and then this one is two-dimensional stacked on top of each other. So it's just a little bit taller. So we have a little bit of different heights going on here. Now we're going to add the greenery. We're done with dimensionals, but we're not done with the glue dots. So here, and the glue dot is, I'm going to pull this up close to the camera so that you can see, hopefully see. Let's see, can you see the glue dot on there? Maybe not. Can you? No? The glue dot's on there. And when it gets positioned, you're not going to see it. It's going to scooch in underneath everything. Oh my gosh, I just saw in my comments that there's a conversation going on, and because I'm down here and my camera is up there, I didn't see it. So I'm going to stand up real quick and see if there's a question I need to answer. Oh, good. We're just talking about good, good, good. All right. So I've placed one piece of greenery here. Thank you, everybody that's joining me today. Really appreciate it. And another sprig of greenery. We've got one more here, and my chair just lost its height. Oh my goodness, here we go. New trick my chair just started doing yesterday. So all of a sudden it's losing its height while I'm sitting in it. Doggone it. All right, I've just placed my third piece of greenery. So now I am going to, we need our little red centers for our flowers, don't we? So I am going to use, these are the Champagne Basic Jewels. And so we do sell a red basic jewel, or that's a Christmas color, the real red. I don't have any, so I'm going to color them with the Stampin' Blends. And this works really well, as you can see in that first card. So I'm going to do a first layer, blow just a little bit, let it dry for a second, and I'm going to do another layer just to make it just a little less pink and a little bit more red. There we go. These are alcohol markers, so they dry pretty quick. I use the clay end of the Take My Pick tool, Everybody has a different way of picking up their jewels, their gems, or etc. And I'm going to place it right in the center of each flower. Whoops. I will be putting together a blog that has all the measurements, and I will post that link to the Facebook page. We cut these 2 little ribbons, and then I'm going to stamp the inside of the card. Here we go. Let's see, those look fairly close to each other. It looks like I got this one just a little bit higher than that one. That's all right. So here is the inside of our card. So there's what it looks like. We have a piece of black, basic black for matting around the edge. We've got a piece of basic white. I've stamped one image, partial image off in one corner, and stamped a sentiment. Here I've stamped happy wishes to you and yours. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that, and I can stand again now. I can stamp and stand, but the adhering stuff in little dinky areas, that gets a little iffy. And I've pre-mounted my stamps. I've got to be careful not to rock this stamp because I re-inked my basic red today. There we go. And then the only reason I stamped a black image on here was because I have so much black on the front. I wanted to kind of tie it together a bit. So this is actually the stamp that I'm using, and I'm just using a portion of it. And I probably need to re-ink this, but we'll do that later. And yes, I'm inking the whole thing because I have a tendency to decide after when I've got the stamp turned upside down and I'm looking at where I want to place it, I tend to then decide exactly how much of the image I'm going to use. You'll notice that because I'm using black, I'm going to go ahead and use my black here for my stamp off, for my, my overflow. So which part do I want here? Ooh, that's kind of pretty. I like how this branch is kind of coming across the bottom. So I'll give that a nice, there we go. I like that. That has nice flow to it. And I can just turn that over and adhere my inner card to its mat. I hope that everyone has had a nice Thanksgiving. Oh, it looks like one of my dirty fingers made a little mess right there. I'll show you how to fix that. Oh, it might have even been from my mat. I'm going to grab, before I go any further, I'm going to grab another baby wipe and wipe my hands off now that I know I've got some contamination somewhere. And all I'm going to do, I don't know if you can even see it, but see I've got a little smudgy right going on here. So I'm going to use a sand eraser, and those of you that ever used a manual typewriter know what one of these is. It's an actual eraser that has sand in it, and so it slightly abrades and it helps to remove surface grime. So completely different than the eraser I showed you earlier when I needed to remove a little bit of glue. And you're gonna hear, I'm gonna be just slightly quieter for a second as I sit down and get closer to my work. And clean up my little mess. I can feel my chair losing its hydraulics again. I think we have a problem with the chair, which is too bad. My husband just got this for me for Christmas last year. Okay, so now I can, whoops, I felt a jewel come off. Oh, I didn't push those down, did I? I bet I didn't. I placed them but didn't push them. Let's put that back in place. There we go. Let's just give those a little, there we go, a little bit of help. Now I don't want to lay that on there because I'm not sure if that's where the ink is coming from or not. So friends, we are almost done. I think the big takeaway today is if you know anybody that wants some craft supplies but is worried about the cost, please tell them about the joining special, because it is a significant savings. And I would love to have anybody on my team. But the normal $99 fee is $75 through tomorrow. And it still includes the free shipping. It still includes $125 worth of product. And it enables you to gain 20% off on all of your purchases through Stampin' Up. So here is our finished card. What do you think? Do you like it? Now, if you weren't with me at the beginning of this video, I was reassuring everybody that without the light on, and I don't mean with the lights off, but the video light that I have here, for some reason is making this red cast orange, but when that light is not on, it's not. It matches our cardstock. So I'm not sure what light situation is going on here, but that's what's causing this to flare orange. And it did the same thing in the photo, and I just couldn't get it adjusted so it wouldn't do that. But this is the Playful Patterns from the Hostess Set DSP. Again, I mentioned earlier, if you wanted to use one of the wood grains from In Good Taste right here, I think that would look lovely as well. We made this card using the Words of Cheer bundle. So it's photopolymer, and then it comes with all these dies. And then for this label, I used the In Good Taste label dies. So my friends, that is the end, and I thank you so much for joining me. Oh, thank you, Donna. I appreciate those words so much. So much. Thank you. The the blog will be updated with all the details on how to make this card, and I will post that link to Facebook. So thank you, everybody. Please stay well, and I hope you're enjoying your holiday season. My hugs to all of you.